sorry, samurai champloo.
What up, what up, what up? My name is Jasmine, aka Sir Gemini. Nice to meet ya, and welcome to this lovely little video. Today's video is going to be about me literally just gawking about my characters, and we're gonna have a fun little time, you know? Alright, so we're just gonna jump right into it. I'm not really one for the long intro, so let's make it rock. Now, I explained a little bit about my story in the last video. If you haven't watched it, go and swing by there and you can come on back, you know, and then you can get a little bit more of a context of like what the story is mainly about and stuff like that. But for those who are lazy, fair enough, I'll give you like a really quick rundown of like the basic of what's the story is basically about. The story is based around the main character Shakana, which is the girl that I'm drawing right now, and she ends up finding out that her family is like this serious like magic military family in this whole other dimension or whatever, and her grandmother is like the head boss of like all the shits and stuff like that, and Shakana is the one who is next in line to take her spot basically, but Shakana knows nothing about the magic or the military or anything like that. So the story is just basically her learning about everything and learning how to use magic, and yeah, that's the rundown of the story. So with this video, I kind of wanted to dive a little bit deeper into a handful of my characters and stuff that are in the story. I'm not going to do all of them because, you know, I don't want to spoil it or whatever, you know, you're going to have to get the full story when you eventually watch the show. But I'm going to give you some cliff notes on some of the characters that I really like and, you know, some of my faves or whatever, and yeah. Okay, so Shakana was born in the Lushlands, which is the name of the second dimension in the story, but she was raised in our current dimension. So she was basically raised in the world that we live in right now. But like the difference between the Lushlands and our current dimension is that it's more similar to like if you guys have ever watched Star versus the Forces of Evil. It's kind of like that, but like more futuristic and solar punk. Also, it's far more horrifying. Like there's different beings and different spiritual monsters that live there, low-key be after Shakana sometimes, just because they don't even be after her on purpose. She just get herself into situations, y'all. She doesn't know no better. Shakana be hard-headed sometimes. It's not her fault though, because if anybody was in her situation, there's no way in the world that you would not react in the same way that she's reacting. Like she's going to school with kids who are the same age as her, but they have the ability of like an Olympic gymnast or like an Olympic runner or something like that, and you're telling her that she's supposed to be on the same level as them within 4 years. You're out of your freaking mind. Like, bro, come on. But like at the same time though, for her to be someone who don't know how to do anything, she's always the first one to try and jump in some shit. Like, bro, we trying to protect you, homie. Sit down somewhere. But like, don't get her twisted. She can squabble a little bit, but like nowhere near on the level of like her family or like her classmates and stuff like that. I'll get more into that as I explain like the other characters that are in this video. But yeah. She's very sarcastic. She has a smart ass mouth. She's very much like her mother in a lot of ways, which I'm more than likely not going to get into her mom anytime soon because her mom's pretty much like a very integral part of the story. But like, just know that like her and her mom, there's a lot of parallels. If I were to connect her personality to any other character, I would choose like Gumball from, obviously they made some other Gumball, and Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Them two together, yeah. Also a pinch of Usopp from One Piece. Yep, perfect mixture right there. That perfectly sums up who she is. But yeah, I don't want to go too detailed into who she is because, you know, spoilers or whatever. But I'm gonna let this section of the video ride out, and then I'll come back for the next session for the next character. Okay, so the next character is Hudson. If any of you guys have like seen my TikTok like a few years ago that I made about the upper rank guards and stuff like that, his video ended up blowing up on there. So I'm basically just gonna go more in detail on who he is. Okay, so there are 4 magic groups in the system that I have in my story. There's Astro, there's Necromancy, there's Chaotic, and there's Green. And each of them have different like powers and stuff like that. I'll explain that in detail in a later video. That's gonna take up a lot of time. And in each group there are a group of high ranking officials, and basically like think generals and shit like that. Like they're high up there, and to become a high ranking official you have to go through this kind of like school. Think My Hero Academia. Okay, it's basically the same thing, but Hudson is the A rank of the chaotic guards. So he's the next in line basically to be one of the head is in charge, if you get the drift, you know. And he, bless his heart, he is a fucking nutcase. I love him to death though. He grew up in the slums of the Lushlands, and the main reason he wants to become a high-ranking guard is so that he can help his friends kind of get out of that area. Along with, he wants his younger sister to have a better life. Him and his sister are actually orphans. Their mom, I can't get into detail about it, okay? It's a whole section in the story. But growing up, it was mainly him, his sister, and his homeboy Kevin. I'll get into him. He's actually the C rank, which, you know, we love Kevin. He's one of the class clowns. But as you can imagine, training to be a high rank official does a lot to the body. On top of him training since he was literally a kid, and the way how he used to train was literally he used to just box people in his neighborhood, and like it was kind of like a betting ring kind of. So he would people would bet on him and he would box, and if he ended up winning he would get money for it and stuff like that. But he ended up learning how to fight and use his powers through that, on top of him having to like work and get a job and stuff like that to support his sister and stuff. Homie is constantly exhausted. I mean, tired as shit. To the point to where I low-key, he has psychosis sometimes. He just be talking to himself in the corner and you don't know why, but like he all right though. Like you just gotta shake him and make him bring back to reality, you know. He's very much a goofball. He's also one of the class clowns. Like he's very goofy, but also he has a certain level of bloodlust to a degree, because like he grew up fighting so much that where like whenever there's any type of like battle or anything, he gets a tad bit too excited. Like it's kind of concerning, you know. But yeah, him and Shakana hit it off pretty quickly. They become homies rather fast, so they locked in for real. He low-key scares her a little bit though, because she can tell that like something ain't right about this man. He a little bit too happy to start putting hands on people. Like it's kind of that energy, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much my boy Hudson. I'm gonna let y'all ride out for the rest of this section, and I'm gonna be back for the next one. Then next up is my girl Adalia. I love her, okay? She is one of Shekinah's aunts. She is like the youngest out of the family. She's 22. Yes, she's 22. She's the closest in age to Shekinah, and automatically they kind of treat each other like sisters and siblings. Like, Adalia is the true definition of a ray of sunshine. If you looked a ray of sunshine up in the dictionary, her face is going to be there goofy as shit. I swear on everything. Like, if I equate Shekinah to Gumball, I would push her on the category of like Darwin. Like, yin and yang, babe. Adalia does on occasion engage in the greenery, if you get my drift. She do be gardening, as one would say. Everyone in her family kind of looks at her as still kind of a child, low-key. They never really take her opinion seriously, which unfortunately does end up making her feel like, you know, fuck it all, I'm just gonna do whatever freak I want, you know what I'm saying? She ends up being a level of comfort for Shekinah that her other aunts and her grandma can't really give her, because obviously her and Shekinah are the closest in age to one another, so they kind of can relate to each other a little bit more. She's also considered to be one of the physically weakest of the family, but like, don't get her wrong, she can whoop ass, okay? But growing up, she never really found any interest in trying to learn how to fight and do all that extracurricular bullshit. She's just living in her own world. We love her. Also, her and her girlfriend have like a yin-yang kind of relationship. Shout out to my friend Tiasha, you a real one. They kind of, as I like developed their story, I kind of like the dynamic a little bit. So eventually I'll start to get into that whole section, because her girlfriend is like a part of a whole other family that's in the story. It's a lot. I'll get into that later, but yeah, that is the basis of my baby boo Adalia. I can't really get into too much of who she is and her story and stuff like that, because again, she's a part of the main family, so her backstory is intertwined with a lot of other people's backstories, and no spoilers here, no spoilers. So I'm gonna let y'all ride, and I'm gonna be right back. Alright, it is the end of the video. Let me know if you guys liked it. You know, I have a bunch of characters. I can do plenty more, you know. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Like, share, and subscribe. XOXO kisses. Bye.